Good. Good morning. Great to see everybody here this morning. We had the announcement yesterday of the February forecast, and again, Minnesota is proving to be a very resilient state with a very robust surplus, a historic surplus. If you want to start comparing apples to apples, it actually, we are $1.4 billion better than we were in the November forecast. So this is a historic moment in Minnesota, an opportunity to really reform our policies, our fiscal policies in this state, to begin partnering with Minnesotans again, to help create an opportunity in this state to get that money back to Minnesotans. Senate Republicans and House Republicans have worked hard together trying to figure out what the best policy to getting this money back to Minnesotans is, and to make sure that Minnesota is on a secure fiscal route to ensuring the safety of this state, to ensuring the infrastructure of the state, to ensuring the tax policy of this state promotes Minnesotans. So we've come up with 4 different ideas here to help Minnesota. That's eliminating Social Security tax. That's permanent ongoing income tax relief. That's property tax relief for Minnesotans. And that's one-time relief for Minnesotans in the form of getting money back to them in a one-time check. Folks, we've got a great plan that should excite Minnesotans, create opportunities, create freedoms, create a legacy for Minnesota. And I am very excited to have behind me the team that is going to bring that forward. And for some further comments, I want to turn this over to Representative Demuth for further discussion on the high level. And then what we're going to do is turn it over to our tax leads to talk about the individual ideas that we have to move the state forward. So with that, Representative Demuth.
Thank you, Leader Johnson, and good morning to everyone. This is an important time, and tax relief for Minnesota should not be partisan. We know with a $17.5 billion surplus, plus, as you heard, almost $19 billion, this is a perfect opportunity for us to come together and give the relief that Minnesotans need and deserve at this point in time. Over the campaign trail, as you've heard us say before, and we talked about on the House floor last night, that Social Security, ending that tax on Social Security, giving that relief was something that both parties campaigned on, and that is something that could be a priority. We should have already gotten this done. We're in our 9th week of session, and yet as the majority has brought through their priorities, tax relief has not been one of them. So I have to say, with over $17.5 billion, if we don't give tax relief to Minnesotans now, when would we? So as Republicans, we are standing here. You'll hear from our other members the details of the plan, but we are ready to work together. On the House floor yesterday, we asked to suspend the rules in effort to declare an urgency and bring up a bill that would have provided relief for Minnesotans, and that was not accepted. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Senator Weber, and he's going to give you a little bit more detail on the plan that we have this morning.
Thank you, Representative Demuth. The 2 items that I wish to talk about in our particular plan deal first with property tax homestead exemptions. I'm carrying a bill in the Senate that would raise the residential homestead exemption, the ag homestead, and resort homestead exemption. Quite frankly, people's homes, their residential properties, become one of their greatest assets. And with the increase that we've had in values in Minnesota, and the increase in property taxes, we're starting to see many people being taxed out of their most important asset. And so we have proposed a raise in the homestead exemptions for residential property by 25%. We've proposed an increase to $3.5 million for the ag homestead exemption, and an increase to over $800,000 for the resort homestead exemption. Now, when you create these kind of exemptions and reduce those property taxes, what you do is you create a shift to some other category, that being commercial, industrial, and seasonal recreational. And so what we are doing at that point is providing for a transfer from the state general levy, which is the only real estate tax dollars that the state of Minnesota collects, but reducing the state general levy so that commercial industrial properties and seasonal recreational properties can have that shift offset by the amount of the state general levy reduction. The other item I wish to comment on is a one-time refund to the taxpayers of Minnesota. We believe that there is a need to get money back into the hands of our citizens as quickly as possible. And last year, it was never that we were opposed to any type of a one-time refund, but we felt that it needed to be part of a larger package to present to the people with meaningful tax reform as well. And so with those two items covered, I will now turn it over to Representative Robbins, who will speak further.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. We're very excited to talk about providing tax relief to Minnesotans. I am just going to comment quickly on two other elements of the plan. The first is the full repeal of Social Security. It's, as Leader Damas said, we had an urgency on the House floor last night to try to get the full repeal done. It really matters to seniors across our state who are struggling, living on fixed incomes. As we saw, overall inflation was up 6.6% last month, but food inflation, especially at-home food inflation, was 11.3% last month. And energy prices were up 8.7% last month. Seniors need this money now, and we need to be working diligently to do the full repeal. Our proposal would affect 472,000 Minnesotans, and it would give an average rebate of $1,277. That is real relief that seniors can use when they are struggling to stay in their homes and to afford groceries. So I hope we can get that done this year. Secondly, the other piece I want to talk about is we're going to propose a 1% cut in each of the bottom tiers of the income tax. So it would take the lowest tier from 5.35% down to 4.35%, and the second tier from 6.8 down to 5.8. And this is really important for our competitiveness as a state, not only for the workers and families who live here, but to attract more families to our state. As many of you know, our lowest tax rate of 5.35% is higher than the highest rate in 28 other states. That is crazy. I mean, we really need to be competitive. We are not competitive across all measures. Our income tax rate is 6th highest in the state. We're one of 12 states that still tax Social Security, one of 12 states that still has an estate tax, one of our 4th highest for corporate tax rates. Across the board, we are uncompetitive on every measure of taxation. So this is a way we can reduce rates on income for families and get that relief to them, and it will be a permanent reduction to help make our state more competitive. So I look forward to hearing more from Senator Nelson about the rest of the plan. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I'm Senator Nelson from Senate District 24. You know, these are not new, folks. There was great need and agreement in the 2022 Conference Committee report on particularly Social Security, full exemption for all Social Security benefits, not taxing those. And I just want to be clear, there was agreement on that, and for the governor to say that there's crocodile tears because Minnesota, apparently the new leadership, the new Democrat leadership is not pushing this Social Security exemption. You know, I don't believe those are crocodile tears. We talk to seniors every day who are struggling to pay their bills. Fixed incomes, and yet eggs are over $5 a dozen. Heating costs are up 30%. And so I am calling on the new majorities in the Senate and the House to be sure and get this much-needed Social Security relief out the door as soon as possible. In fact, it could be right away. There's nothing to prevent us from doing that. And just to echo my colleagues, if not now, when? When we have a $19 billion surplus and we cannot focus on getting much-needed tax relief back to struggling Minnesotans, when will we do it? So this is important. Each of these items are important, and we look forward to your questions. Thank you. Oh. Oh, and I have to present a bill. So I will leave the historical context to the rest. Thank you.
We only want to talk to Senator Nelson.
Well, we're done here.
Can I ask you to put this in the context of one-time money and ongoing money? I mean, how much of these proposals and at what dollar amount come from this? What we're seeing is a $12 billion kind of one-time pot of money, and then how much it will cost in your ongoing tax changes into the next 2 bienniums?
Take that.
At this point, if we look at the numbers that we have shared with you today, you are seeing that the cost of the Social Security is which would be an ongoing number, is about $1.26 billion per biennium. The rate reduction that we're looking at a full 1% is approximately $3 billion over a biennium. And then the other issues as it relates to the state or the homestead exemption, it's a permanent reduction in the state general levy. That is about $70 million per biennium for that. The amount of, the one other item that we haven't talked about, quite frankly, is the child tax credit. And we're projecting about a $4 billion cost on that, and also the one-time refunds. Now, and that's approximately $5 billion. And now those numbers can always be scaled accordingly, but those are the general costs that we are looking at this point.
We didn't miss this, but what's the rebate check totals for the single and the joint filers?
I don't have the breakdown for the single and joint filers for that.
Literally just got it this morning.
You have
can
that?
speak to
Very good.
Yeah, so the rebate checks would be $1,250 for single and $2,500 for married.
To what income levels do they go? How can you compare this to what the governor has proposed and how much overlap there is on the rebate, the tax rebate proposal?
I believe it goes to every taxpayer.
Yeah.
To every
So
taxpayer.
there's no income limit?
No.
No.
But all these seem to be well within what we're talking about is the one-time pot of $12 billion. So your one-times fit within that, and then they said, I thought we were saying now the carry-forward surplus is about $5 billion, so your ongoings fit within that. Am I doing the math correct?
Yes. And we should also remember that right now the official forecast was for a $17.5 billion surplus, but that's after the recent bookkeeping change that they made to add between $1.4 and $1.5 billion in for inflation. And otherwise, the official forecast would have been closer to $19 billion.
And can you explain a little bit more about how the per child tax credit, is that an advance credit? Is it something that you would claim when you file income taxes? How does that work?
I believe it's $150 a month, and it comes out to about $1,800 per child, and there are no restrictions on how it can be used.
So people would adjust their withholdings, or how do they receive that money under your plan?
That's a credit that shows up on their tax return.
Can you talk more about your change of heart somewhat on the rebate checks? Because last year, some in your party did call it like an election year gimmick, basically. I think Kurt Dowd also said that Minnesotans wouldn't be fooled by one-time relief.
I think we all recognize that there was always an opportunity for a one-time rebate. We just felt that it had to be more than one time. We felt we needed to have ongoing, at that time we were looking at obviously a much smaller surplus, but we felt that there needed to be ongoing tax relief for the people of Minnesota, because they are the ones that have been helping to contribute to that surplus. And so it was never that there was an intense dislike of a one-time rebate, although you always have to remember what it costs the state of Minnesota to send out a rebate. But it was more that we wanted to see permanent tax relief for the people themselves.
Can you talk a little bit about your political path here? You are in the minority, and the other side seems to have different priorities about what they would do with the surplus. How do you get these things through? I mean, you're making big promises here.
You want to?
So that's an excellent question, and one that we hear quite a bit in the Senate and the House. So when we were out door knocking, we were campaigning, we never once heard, hey, can you grow government by 25%? Hey, can you increase the mandates? Can you increase taxes on us? That has never happened at any single door that I hit. What they were asking for is Social Security tax exemptions. What they were asking for is a one-time check back. What they were asking for is relief from Minnesota state government. Minnesota state government is fully funded. We've got an obligation to make sure the essentials are covered, and we are committed to doing that. But what we got to do now is, look, we've got a $17.5 billion surplus. That belongs with Minnesotans. They're the ones that should determine what their future looks like. We trust Minnesotans, and this needs to go back to them. So we are here, we're giving a proposal, a contrast to what the Senate DFL and House DFL are proposing right now, giving people the freedom to do what they want with their lives. And that starts with some financial help here, and that's what we're trying to do, give that back to Minnesotans, because that's what they're asking for. We are being responsive to what Minnesotans want, and that's what this proposal is.